it is. Waiting for the ding. I think my internet's a little laggy. Sorry, guys. Well, what up? It's your girl Delia here with another chilling with the homies with another Eagles Landing podcast where Eagles fans from coast to coast come together to talk Eagles and a little NFL action every Wednesday. But this will actually be our last podcast for the season since the season is over, pretty much. We'll get into that. Let me go ahead and first introduce our special guest we have here, rocking his chip visor.
That's right. This is the might be the last appearance of the chip visor here, folks.
Yes.
Soak it in. Soak it in.
You have seen him on my channel. You know him best as Madden.
Madden G4D.
G4D.
Yep.
And
I'm the guy that relates everything to Madden. That's my shtick.
Madden champ over there.
Yeah.
Yes, but he's also baby daddy / hubby. So you know, a lot of good times going on and craziness with. I'm a little out of it today, and you know why. We'll get to that, but let me introduce. You already know they're here every week, talking it out with me. It's been a crazy season. Gayle, how you doing?
Just living the dream over here. Not that we had any big news to talk about, but I feel like this show we're gonna end it with a bang. E-Rock, how are you feeling over there?
I am still recovering from the party that was the Eagles Twitter Awards. I know me and Delia are kind of in the same boat. When we finally went off the air last night, we both kind of just looked at each other and said, "Okay, now what?" And we both needed to go to bed. And today was a lot of catching up with all the chip news.
Yeah, I'm there with you, E-Rock. It's been a crazy week so far, you know? The Twitter Awards, I guess we'll start on kind of that positive note. That happened yesterday. It was really fun. I'd say it was a great success. It was our first time, you know, coming together and doing this crazy show. And we had over 300, close to 400 people watching us live, and y'all were going crazy on Twitter, and the awards, the guest presenters, it was just a really awesome experience.
Yeah, Twitter did not know what was coming because first Jeffrey Lurie hit him with some big news, and then right after that, you know, we hit him pretty hard. And if you didn't see the award show, check it out on PhilaDehlia's channel. It's really fun. I've never seen anything like it, and I really enjoyed it. So I definitely check that out.
So Gayle, as the observer, how did you enjoy the show?
I was sitting on the edge of my seat. It was definitely, you know, you guys threw me some curves. I thought I had some people locked in for some awards, and it was exciting. Definitely exciting.
Did you order the Zomps garlic hair gel?
If you got any beard gel, you know, because I don't really get the mop to.
It's an all-purpose garlic gel. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
You know, one of the things that went most unnoticed, and nobody has brought it up, but we all kind of noticed it. And for both hot takes, and takes and worst hot takes. And we're not exactly sure how that happened. We don't know if Elliot was championing, you know, winning best hot takes, trying to garner votes, because he won worst hot takes by a landslide. It wasn't even close.
Wow.
The best hot takes was kind of close, and he comes away with both of them. So I guess he's just got hot takes.
Yeah, you know, I didn't notice that. As I was watching it, but hey. He's the best and the worst. What you know? He makes a lot of hot takes.
So I guess he's basic then.
Oh, basic. Watch out.
Just kidding, Elliot. Love you, guy.
All right. Well, you know, with that, and, you know, special thank you to E-Rock. You were kind of the main man, just like driving this whole thing to what it was. So, you happy to relax now? A
I
little
am.
bit.
Chasing these award presenters was a little challenging. Having them get the videos to me was a little challenging,
Right.
and then all the editing that went into those little mini breaks, the intro, the really bad Chip Kelly impression, the Zomp commercial, and the in memoriam. Those all had to be edited and cut up and stuff like that. So I appreciate it. You know, the people at home, we appreciate the positive feedback. You have no idea how much work went into that, both from me and Delia and Key, and Rob on his iPad there. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. We had a great response from it, and we're very happy with what you guys are saying.
All right, all right. Well, on that note, we're going to break and shout out some of the people in the comments on the live stream right now. We have El Duderino. What's up? And they're already talking about football. They're like, screw this Eagles Twitter talk. We're going to talk about football in the chat.
Yeah. Comments are lit up right now.
Go Hawks. People are talking about Chip. We'll get to that, guys. Be patient.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, I do want to let you guys know there was some talk about Zomp being on this episode and doing a little kind of squashing the beef or whatever with Zomp, but he had a schedule change last minute and decided not to join. So those of you sitting here waiting or wondering, where's Zomp? He will not be appearing anytime soon. So, and since this is the last one, I guess we'll have to wait a whole other season. So, all right, America Last, I see you. He wants to know, Madden G4D, are you going to Twitch some Madden tonight?
Yes.
Oh.
I have a conference championship game coming up, and I need to practice my stick skills here. For you guys, just if you don't know, I do an online franchise with my buddies. We all used to work at EA actually, and so for 10 years now we've had this online franchise, and ever since they came out with it, and so it's pretty intense. Heated battles, and I play the St. Louis Rams by one of the better players in our league, so it's gonna be heated. It's gonna be Nick Foles versus Sam Bradford.
Now,
Oh,
what
man.
system are you rocking on?
I'm on an Xbox One. I know that's not the preferred for most Madden players, but I had to go with my league. My league went Xbox on the generation change.
All right, I'm on Xbox One, so if you got
Ooh, y'all
play
might
some
have
Madden.
to dabble.
Yeah, dabble.
that'll
will
be
be
on
dabbling.
his. That'll be on his channel coming soon.
And you know what I'm also going to do is I'm going to have a Chip tribute.
Oh,
So
that'll be
Chip's
nice.
offense is unique enough that they actually add plays in that are specific
Yeah.
Chip Kelly plays. So I'm gonna make a playbook, and then I'm gonna play a couple games with just like the Chip offense, and
Enjoy it while you have it.
I'll
Huh?
run up the middle out of the gun with DeMarco Murray all game, just the way Chip likes it.
All right, and lastly in the comments, I got to shout out Chuck R, because he is going for 2 weeks in a row as champ in my FanDuel league. So I was wondering who that was. I knew the second and third place people, but I didn't know you. So Chuck, thank you for saying hi and let me know who you are, and congrats on winning. Now is the time, guys.
I wish there was some kind of news to talk about. It's week 17. It's just kind of like nothing's going on. Oh yeah, Chip was fired.
Oh, I know. By now you've all heard the news. It kind of came at a crazy time yesterday, right when me and E-Rock were ready to hop on and prep for our award show and get that going smooth. And it was just the fact that it was just at an unexpected time,
Yeah.
right? I was like, maybe if it was on Black Monday, like, okay, but it's the way it went down has me all twisted. Like, it didn't rub me, like, I don't even know how to handle this, guys. So, I figured we'll get to your individual thoughts, but just, I don't know, maybe a while ago, they did release Chip Kelly's statement. So I figured I'd read that.
Okay.
And then we can just kind of freestyle get into what we need to just talk about, get off our chest.
And for the viewers out there, if you're not aware, Jeffrey Lurie, he put out his own letter
Uh-huh.
saying to the fans of saying why Chip was released. So if you haven't read that, I recommend it. It's not that long. And then this is what follows. This is Chip's official letter to the fans, his public press release.
Do you remember those exact reasons from the Lurie statement or no?
Not
Okay.
really, no.
All right, we'll get into that. So Chip says, I'm grateful to Jeffrey Lurie for allowing me to coach the Philadelphia Eagles for the past 3 seasons. I deeply regret that we did not bring this great city and its fans the championship they deserve. I was blessed to work with a gifted and hardworking coaching staff every day, and they will succeed wherever they go. Finally, my players mean the world to me. I will miss them very much, and I will be rooting for them to achieve their dreams. Life is all about responding to challenges and seizing opportunities.
So to me, that last line is like his like passive aggressiveness, like I'm gonna get you when I'm in Tennessee with Mariota type talk, But maybe it's just something nice that his publicist wrote or something. But to me, I read into that as he's pissed.
Yeah.
And I don't think you want Chip pissed at you. I don't know. I think he's still talented enough that given a good quarterback, because you look at what he did when Foles had a good year.
Isn't that like a Oregon twist? Like they have that win the day, and he's like seizing the moment, and win the day kind of thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess Chip hit the Oregon Trail.
Oh.
Had to.
That's a good one.
That was actually that was a good one. I'm gonna steal that one. I might steal that one.
He's like, I'm gonna make the GIF.
I know that's gonna be on that GIF right after we get done with this podcast.
Chip Kelly's got sedentary. Oh.
So, okay, you kind of got my initial thoughts. I feel like Man G40 yours was similar, right?
On Chip's press release?
Well, no, just on him, the news of
The
him
news.
being released / fired, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's moments like these that are actually the highlights of being an Eagles fan, right? So, like, I still remember when, there's good and there's bad, right?
Uh-huh.
And even though Chip was fired, I'm hoping it's going to lead to better things, right? So I was shocked initially, like super excited. Like Dehlia, she made a reaction video that was actually pretty funny. She's like, what's going on? And I think I had a little bit of that. It happened in the middle of the day. I was busy running around doing stuff. But it was, like she said, just totally unexpected. And I think as I had time to kind of think about it a little bit more and think about the details, I really think that it's Jeffrey Lurie making kind of a rash decision in a short time frame based on the lack of preparation. Like the players didn't even know about it. You know what I mean? Like if this really was one of those things, like the players probably would have been brought into a room and told what was happening while he was being escorted out or something. You know what I mean? And so to me, that says Chip being kind of an aggressive dude and Jeff maybe grilling him. They had an argument, and Jeff was just like, "You're out. Peace. Don't let the door hit you on the way out." That's what I think happened at this point, based on the information that I have. And I'm disappointed in it. I'm disappointed that Jeff would get upset to that point and actually go through it and make that kind of decision. That's my take.
So where are y'all at?
Go ahead, E.
Well, here I am. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. The timing of the whole thing is incredibly curious. I was willing to, and by willing I mean just willing to put up with another year of Chip. Early on in this season, we all watch our Eagles with both our eyes and our hearts, and often at times we have conflicts between the two. Looking from the end of last year, that epic collapse, going into the offseason that we just had where he traded away or did not re-sign or released so many popular and key players, and then goes into the season really with a unstructured team with no chemistry whatsoever, parts that do not fit in the right holes that he handpicked, like a DeMarco Murray. You handpicked him and you put him into your system, and it's just not working out. You had this Oregon offense. You trade for Sam Bradford, and he's a pocket passer. What we saw, or at least what I saw on the field, was fundamentally and conceptually flawed football. I feel like eventually the players started to not build a culture, but rather see it as, winning builds culture. Culture doesn't always necessarily breed winning. And then also Chip's deflection during press conferences, not willing to take responsibility, throwing Deuce under the bus. Well, I don't touch the running backs, and then wanting all the power, but last, kind of press conference saying, well, I'm not the GM. Well, it's not me. It's the players. It's the execution. There's nothing wrong with our game plan. I mean, if you go back and look at all the press conferences, constantly deflection away from them. The timing's curious, but if they really feel like this was going to move the franchise forward, knowing full well they have to find a new head coach to the job that Chip Kelly is doing, and with that, I will pass it to Gale.
I'm picturing like a corporate setting when they give you the box and they walk you out with the security guards, Chip Kelly. But I don't know. I mean, something really must have went down in that office. Chip probably threw a fit or something. But I respect Lurie doing it this way. Like a lot of the pundits were saying, Lurie wouldn't do this. He let Andy Reid stay for 14 years. This is not his MO. He's not going to do this. And he put the foot down on the curb stomped Chip Kelly and said, you know what, this is my team. I own this team, and did it his way. But it was definitely shocking. I think my jaw was open for about half hour. I was ready for the Eagle Twitter Awards, all hyped about that. I'm like, Chip Kelly just stole the Eagle Twitter Awards thunder. But it's just amazing to see how it went down. And you see all the players are now, all these little nuggets of information are leaking out, and we're finally putting the puzzle together.
Yeah.
What was going down?
What are some of those nuggets that you heard?
Lane Johnson talking about, being in practice every day is like being in the OTAs, and he's like, we're working like we're in the OTAs the whole season, and he's basically saying like a lot of teams don't do that. And if you think back to all the things like, let's say Kerry Williams would say about how players are tired, and I'm saying what players aren't vocalizing, but I'm speaking up for the rest of the team. You're just seeing all these, things where Chip Kelly mismanaged his team, the roster, the locker room, the resources, the funds. It's just, it was mismanagement 101, and he wrote the book this season. So.
Yeah, I think one mistake that maybe would change his outcome here is with the offensive line, because everyone knows DeMarco Murray is a north-south guy, and you guys would see when we would run up the middle, like those were terrible runs. Now the outside runs were also terrible, but for different reasons, right? So the outside runs, DeMarco Murray couldn't run behind blockers, right? The inside runs, there were no holes, right? So when you release Harriman's because he's too old, you drop Mathis because he keeps asking for money, and then Kelsey's not a big dude; he's a smaller dude. Like I think if we had, maybe from free agency or the draft, or keeping Mathis, like we had big dudes that can make a little bit of space in the middle, DeMarco Murray would have been playing well all season. And you can put Matthews in on the outside for the outside runs, let Murray go straight forward, and then you don't have that controversy. And what if, this is total speculation, right? But involved owners, right? They sometimes put pressure on the coach to run the team a certain way. And if Lurie is making that stance, he might have said something to the effect of, let's use our really expensive running back, DeMarco Murray, a little bit more. And being as hard-headed as Chip seems like he was probably like, don't tell me how to run my team. And that could have been the whole topic that blew everything up.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. So, like, the biggest missing piece of this puzzle was our O-line. Like, if we had a stronger O-line, a lot of the offensive performance would have been different, you know, and that could have changed the entire season. And even with this season, we were just, you know, 1-2 wins away from still winning the division. But and that's why I was looking forward to this off season, because I was like, okay, I can sit back, relax. I know Chip is gonna have to address the O-line, and he knows what he's been building, right? And we fix this. Oh man, it's gonna be like, you know, this rising sun, and we'll start glowing again. You know, I was ready. You know, I was relieved that we were kind of just out of it.
You should have known better.
I know.
You're an Eagles fan. You can't relax.
So that's why I'm just kind of like, damn. Just when I thought I could relax and just see Chip ride this out another year. If he improved, great. That means we're in the right track. If not, then we get rid of him. But this happening the way it did, it kind of made me upset. And like, I found myself, shout out to EDP, I see him in the comments, he called me this morning, and you all know his opinion is very different from mine. And I was like yelling at him. I was like, no, does this make sense to you? Can you tell me this? Right? And I was like, he's like, yo, calm down. And I'm like,
you of all people?
I know, I was yelling at him, and I was like, dude, what is happening? And I think
it's your motherly instincts kicking in. Right? You're protecting the nest.
Yeah, but like, I guess the issue I have is I'm not even concerned, because Norbcam tweeted me today too, and he was like, you know, I knew you were a fan of Chip, and I was like, it's not even me liking Chip. That's not the issue, because I did think he had the potential. I liked his vision and wanted him to just try and, you know, have some time to actually execute it, to see whether it worked or not. Because obviously the way he works is risky. There's no guarantees. I understand that. But I live my life risky, man. And I'm cool with, you know, taking the risk and seeing if it pans out. But I feel like it got cut too short. And the issue I have isn't that I like Chip. The issue I have now is I have concerns with Lurie and the gang. You know, the way they handled this was very bad, in that you just look at, okay, they pursued Chip really hard, right? And he didn't want to come here, and then they fought and, you know, kept going, pursuing it, and he came, and then they invested in him and his program, and they even catered the facility to his vision, you know, sports science and smoothie bars and all these things, where they invested in the actual, you know, the gym and all of that. And then on top of that, they give him full control. And then in that same year, they just cut him loose. And I'm just like, it's these quick, rash decisions that don't make sense. And if that's how you're going to run your business, our franchise is screwed. Like, that's what scares me.
It's a little bit.
It's those guys now. I don't care.
You're right. It smells a little bit like Al Davis, like a little bit, like you know, like the Al Davis, you know, his pie is baking in the next room and your door's closed and it's like coming under the door a little bit. It smells a little bit like Al Davis.
But I mean, what if Chip Kelly was like a mad dog, like he was like Old Yeller and he was foaming at the mouth, and they had to put him down, you know?
You just
came in, he was like,
I want control. Andy Reid, right? That's exactly what happened with Andy Reid. Like, we were holding on to Andy Reid, and so, finally he had to cut him.
Essentially, Chip Kelly was Old Yellered, so I'm okay with
that's definitely an interesting take on it, and it's a little different from what they're saying here in Philadelphia. A lot of the people, including myself, are actually applauding Jeffrey Lurie for just cutting to the chase. I know people that are in the building that were all on board. He had everybody sold on his system early on, and towards the end of this system, or end of this year rather, they had pretty much completely, and organizationally lost faith in what he was doing because they saw that fundamental flaws in what he was doing. I'm not concerned about Jeffrey Lurie whatsoever as an owner. There have been way too many power struggles within. There was Andy Reid versus Joe Banner. There was Joe Banner versus Howie Roseman. There was Howie Roseman versus Andy Reid. There was Howie Roseman versus Chip Kelly. For once, Jeffrey Lurie finally put his foot down and said, "This is my goddamn team, and if you don't perform, if you trade away these players." And it does not, just like he said in the press conference, if you trade away these players, I understand there's a risk involved. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And adios. He actually, for the first time since he bought the team in 1995, manned up, took a stand, didn't wait for things to progress like he did with Andy. Andy stayed 2 years past his welcome. And, he did what he had planned on doing. I want to say he did what he had to do. I was willing to give him one more year. But listen, if you lost faith that much, you might as well just cut it now.
Well, and then Lurie made a statement about saying there are some candidates they have interest in, and this gives Chip an opportunity to do his thing and gives them an opportunity with the playoffs coming to talk to some of these coaches who are in a position to interview. Because after a certain time, they can't interview. But so I think maybe they have someone in mind.
But if they have someone in mind now, that would be someone that is not on a playoff team, right? So it'd be someone that's out of the league or in college. What do you guys think?
Maybe Hugh Jackson. Anybody giving Hugh Jackson love?
Yeah, I'll give him some love. That's the offensive coordinator for
Cincinnati
the
Bengals,
right? Yeah, he's done a good job over there. He has a lot of good pieces over there too. That's actually interesting. Who's a better quarterback, Andy Dalton or Sam Bradford?
Dalton.
Dalton?
I mean, Dalton's having a career year before he got injured. He's having a career year, but he's done a lot of good things with the Cincinnati Bengals. Another coach people are talking about, Sean Payton. He still has time with the Saints, but maybe they're tired of him. Adam Gase, work he's done with Jay Cutler out in Chicago, and he did a lot of good work with the Broncos. Some people are saying Josh McDaniels, New England Patriots retread. Kyle Shanahan. I mean, the list. David Shaw from Stanford, I'm a big fan of. Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see which angle they go. Lurie said he's interested in talking to college coaches, NFL coaches, and even some retired coaches. So.
So if you guys could choose maybe like a favorite, would you want a defensive coach or an offensive coach?
Well, I mean, if I'm speaking for me, I don't know who I want. I know what I want. I don't know who I want. What I want is, and they don't grow on trees, but I would try to match these qualifying characteristics up to the head coaching search. I want an NFL guy who has experience in the NFL, who knows the NFL game and how to manage NFL player personalities. Because I guarantee you, whatever coach comes in to take this team would love to have LaShawn McCoy and Jeremy Maclin and maybe even Deshaun Jackson back. Andy could put up with it. He was an NFL guy. I want a guy that has a history of taking bad programs. Not that this is a bad program, but your record is what it is, and flipping them. So basically, like an old head, like a Bill Parcells type. Not to say that him, but he was able to win a couple of Super Bowls with the Giants. He flipped the Jets into a playoff team. He flipped the Patriots into a playoff team. He flipped the Cowboys into a playoff team because he had an eye for NFL talent and he knew how to coach guys above their level. I'm not sure you can pull that from college. If it was up to me, I'd take a long, hard look at Sean McDermott, a guy who's used to Philadelphia and knows the landscape and knows the fan base and knows the media and knows what he's getting himself into. Chip was a little overwhelmed. How about you, Gail?
He's a Jim Johnson disciple, so hey, that's interesting. But you know, Hugh Jackson, when Jeffrey Lurie was talking about, he was going over the type of coach that he was looking for and describing was that coach was everything opposite what Chip Kelly is, right? And it's basically he's looking for a player's coach. And when he was describing this character, the guy that just kept popping in my head was Hugh Jackson. Now, if you guys watched Hard Knocks, Hugh Jackson, he's a player's coach. He's very charismatic and very set in his ways. And if you look what he did with the backfield this year with Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill, he challenged those guys, and he challenged Andy Dalton. He made that offense better. And he's a player's coach. So Hugh Jackson, I'm fighting that good fight with Hugh Jackson right now.
Yeah. All right, we see a little favorite
Taking a stance
over there.
here. Taking a stance.
Well, we have the Great Kane and Coco fan. They're saying, "Hey, Juan Castillo."
Oh.
No. I mean, I'm with E-Rock here. I don't know who I would want right now because I'm still just kind of trying to absorb the reality of what had happened, and now I'm trying to analyze why did it happen, and like now trying to piece things together and make it all make sense. But I'm kind of like just stressing myself out. But the only thing that can make me feel better is once we hire someone, like who that is going to be a big, it's going to be a big deal. And if it's nowhere near, like, if we don't even know who this fool is, like, if we were like the Bears, when they got rid of Lovey and they bring in like Tressman, like, just some dude from the CFL, really? Like, I don't want to end up like that, So I don't. Not knowing scares me.
I think Lurie's a little bit smarter than that.
Well, see, and me, I would have normally said that, but now I'm scared. I don't know what to think. I know, like E-Rock mentioned, like Philly, they respect that he was able to just kind of, just make this hard decision. But in my eyes, and we don't know how this played out, and we knew Roseman and Chip Kelly kind of had this, like, battle, and Chip Kelly won in the preseason, but now, who was sitting with Lurie in the box every game, who was in his ear, and maybe was he an influence to Lurie to kind of make him make this kind of quick, like, decision without thinking it through.
I wouldn't put it past him.
So
it's crazy.
I don't know.
Like Chip's out, managing the team, doing the games. What's Roseman doing, right? He's just sitting in the office next to Lurie.
Roseman was plotting.
All the mistakes,
Roseman was plotting. It basically.
You write a book about this in 10 years.
He's strutting around the facility now, right? Like, yeah.
Lurie was holding him up, and then Roseman swept the leg.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just remember, too, that Lurie, like, look, Chip was the right hire. If I was to do it all again, I would do the same exact thing. He was the hot name. He was the hot college coach. You thought you were getting Jimmy Johnson. You got Steve Spurrier. Stuff like that happens. But keep in mind, Jeffrey Lurie is also the same guy who once upon a time hired an unnamed or an unknown quarterback coach from Green Bay named Andy Reid and saw enough in him to bring him in. So if Ray was there and then Andy was brought in and had, 14, 15 years of success. I can't even remember how long he was there. And then Chip was the right hire, even though it didn't work out. I have all the confidence in the world that the next head coach will be the right hire.
Good point. That's a really good point.
All right. Got all the faith in Lurie. I'm just a little sketchy now because I don't know the full details. And, had it been a Black Monday, I might have been all right, But this is it's too weird for me.
I like it, man. I like it.
I've
been so depressed since that loss last week. I've done my binge watching on Netflix. Watched Narcos. Did my Call of Duty thing. GTA. Killed some people. You know, trying to get over this depression. And this is the first thing that when I heard the news, it actually made me smile, and not in a bad way, just in a smile that change gonna come, and we need some change. We need some new blood, and it just went off the tracks, and that's really where we're at. So
Crazy.
Was it completely off the tracks though?
I don't think so. So look. Like so, you know,
off the
people make
track.
mistakes, right? People make mistakes, and I don't want to beat on this too much, but where I was coming from, my stance pre-Chip firing was he made some mistakes, right? And I think he's a smart enough guy to correct those, and that's what I was looking forward to him doing in the off season. Um, Now, the things that I think were harder for him to overcome was more the fact that he wasn't a player's coach, right? I think that was his biggest fault in terms of leadership. Is he was too much focused on science and too little focused on people. And I think if he was a better leader, he would focus on people a little bit more for both the motivational factor and the camaraderie factor that you need as a team. I'm sure he can deal with that plenty well. He's obviously a successful head coach, but from me on the outside looking in, I noticed that flaw early. And when you lose, it's going to get amplified, and he wasn't able to recover from it.
So in talking about the whole people, player coach dynamic, like what? So Gail, you mentioned Lane Johnson, and on a couple other occasions, we've heard players kind of complaining of having to work too hard, right? Is there any other things that came out this week that I'm missing that players have had a?
I mean, you really got to go back and like piece things together. You know, like
Yeah.
thinking about Jason Peters' situation when he was like unhealthy, and was he gonna play or wasn't gonna play? Did Jason Peters take himself out of the game? And you heard rumors about veteran players not wanting to play hurt for Chip. And some players didn't have any comments after, and you got to read between the lines. Everything that they're not saying, you got to read between the lines to make up your own, story.
And plus, you got to go back and you got to look at even now, a lot of things are starting to make sense. Even though at the time it was clouded by all the racial angles to it, all of a sudden, what LaShawn McCoy said on the way out maybe makes a little bit of sense. What Brandon Boykin said on the way out, and it wasn't a racial angle, but it was just, hey, look, I passed Chip in the hall. He doesn't even look at me. Like, these are grown-ass men who make millions of dollars playing professionally. Like, they're not college kids, and if you can't get that out of your head, then you're going to have problems relating. Shady clouded it with a racial angle, but, just trouble relating to the people that you're trying to coach.
Yeah.
Even Trey Thomas, a coach, an assistant coach who had a lot to lose by putting his name out there and saying what he did say. That's concerning. And Lurie brought up something in the press conference. I think it was emotional intelligence, which I thought was an interesting choice of words. Basically,
that's a real thing, man. EQ. It's you should look it up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's basically thinking that Chip Kelly is not relating to his players.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest concern. Remember our podcast 2 weeks ago, I was saying my biggest concern was him losing the locker room. And I don't know.
And I see that. So I see the trend, and I look at it in my eyes as when I was an athlete and when I was working with coaches. And I totally relate to what these players are saying, but the problem is I see it is that the way I see Chip, what he was trying to do is he was trying to give our team that extra step. No other team is going to, the way I got better and the way I won my matches was working like harder than everybody else. So, you know, all the other colleges, their teams, they, you know, they would train from 1 to 4 every single day, maybe do a little extra light work, footwork on the side. I would wake up, do an hour before I even had to go to class, then do the midday thing, and then, you know, go to the gym for another hour and jog 3 miles on top of that. And the reason why I ended up being the best in my conference was because I was doing all this extra stuff on the side. Was it easy? No. And the coaches that I've had through my training, you know, I've worked with a lot of different coaches, and the best ones were the ones that worked you until you puked, you know, and nobody liked them. They did, but it's not about liking them. It's about them pushing you to that level, to push you to get to that next level, you know, and it's not the nice ones that do that. And, you know, that's what Chip Kelly was trying to do. Work them hard, but yeah, it's going to hurt in the first few years, especially the first year guys with the Eagles. Like, you know, they're going to be dying because they're not in that type of shape. But after so many consecutive years of doing it, your body forms and transforms into what it needs to be able to be okay with that type of training. And they just didn't want to do that. And to me, it's kind of like, it reminds me of that college girl from Stanford where she was just crying because I need to feel safe, you know, and I need to be in a safe space and blah, blah, blah. Like, she didn't like that she wasn't being catered to or her feelings were hurt. And it's like, you got to be an adult. You're in college, you know, you got to just grow up and you got to deal with the hard part in order to succeed. So I just kind of, I saw what he was trying to do, and I get the players were frustrated, but he was trying to bring in guys with that different type of mindset that were okay with that were willing to sacrifice their bodies and to push themselves to the limits to, down the line, in a few more seasons, to be great. So.
Now, do you guys feel that Chip Kelly was too much of a micromanager?
No, you know, going back to what Delia said, there's a difference between working hard and what. I don't think it's the fact that I don't think it's they didn't want to work hard. They didn't want to work hard for him. You know what I mean? Dick Vermeil, perfect example, all right? Dick Vermeil worked those players to death. I mean, they wrote a what is that NFL Network show that they run all the time? An NFL Life. Dick Vermeil ran those players to death, but he was a player's coach, so they didn't mind doing it for him. I don't think he was a micromanager. He was a micromanager, but he just didn't relate to the players. Listen, you know, we've all worked for bosses that, you know, we're willing to go the extra step for them because it's them. We've also had those bosses that this guy's a effing prick, and I'm not going to work any harder. I'm going to do the bare minimum, and I'm going to bitch and moan and piss and whine the whole time because I don't like the person. I think Chip Kelly was developing to that guy.
Yeah.
And your piss would be monitored too, you know.
Yes, it would be monitored.
Yeah, I mean that heart monitor stuff, and I'm just sleep monitors. I don't know. I think it just rubbed a lot of dudes the wrong way, you know.
It's different and it's hard to understand, but like the thing is, how do you get a step ahead against, you know, all these other players who are trying to be the best, you know, the best there is? You have to think outside the box. You have to try different things, and yeah, it's going to be weird at first, but you think of all the biggest, you know, tech innovators or, you know, entrepreneurs and all the most successful people in the world. That's how they started. They did something that was weird that nobody understood, and had it failed, then they would have been just seen as crazy. But down the line, over a long period of time, it succeeded, and wow, they're geniuses. So there's a fine line between genius and crazy, and, you know, we didn't have the time to see his out.
That line comes down to winning, right?
Yeah.
So Steve Jobs was, you know, total asshole the way he drove his team, but they would go the extra mile. They would listen to him because they knew they would win in the end. You know what I mean? And so when you don't win and you're that type of guy, people are just like, peace, they're out, you know?
Yeah. Results. This is a results league.
Well,
crazy.
man.
So I don't want to spend too much more time on Chip, but any of you have ideas on where he's gonna land? Earlier they were saying USC, like around like week 9 or something. They were saying, University of Southern California Trojans are gonna have Chip Kelly next year. What do you think?
I don't know where he's going. I just love to be in the pitch room when he's pitching his game plan. You know,
Mm,
like who's gonna buy? Like a lot of people were saying Tennessee. And look at their facilities. The Tennessee Titans are known to be a cheaper organization. Are they going to revamp everything like the Eagles laid down the red carpet for Chip Kelly? He might have his boy Marcus in Tennessee, and they might rekindle their love fest. But will Tennessee really give him the keys to the engine, or the Lambo, or the maybe the Fiat, maybe?
Good question.
I don't know. I don't want to see him in the league. I have a feeling it's gonna just come back to haunt us.
I think he was good enough to stay in the league. Got to think about his wins and losses.
No, I think he will be in the
We're
league.
6-9 right now, probably going to be 6-10. We had 2 10-6 seasons to start his career, and so he's heavier in the wins column than a lot of existing coaches right now. So
I mean, but you do got to look at his record from the end of last season to now is not big. It has not been good. So
yeah, I mean, I guess the last 16 hasn't been that good, but I think most of that was this year, and most of that was with that bad offensive line problem. We all talked about it. The different pieces not gelling, wasn't working. I'm sure he was going to address it, but
so if we have one reason why Chip Kelly didn't succeed, go around the room, talk amongst yourself. One reason why Chip Kelly did not succeed in Philadelphia.
his bad GM moves, right? So Kiko Alonso didn't pan out the way he wanted. He was quick on the draw with releasing Mathis. I kind of agree with Deshaun Jackson, but you want to get some value for him. I mean, even if he's not the locker room guy you want, get some value for him. He's one of the top receivers. And so I think it's his GM-ness that really lost him the gig. And I felt he would have got better at that and definitely not made those same mistakes. But, he didn't have the clout to keep doing that,
Yeah. Delia?
So the question is his biggest flaw or his
If you could boil it down to one
flaw.
reason.
I think it was he was too successful his first 2 seasons. Your first 2 seasons as coach, you're allowed to fail, right? Because you're, all this change, you're rebuilding. The problem was he won right away, and he was close in his 3 years. He was close to, snatching up 2 NFC East titles, but he only got 1, and that was his first year. So he was too successful too soon, and so since this season it wasn't as successful, we saw it as him declining, when in reality this was the year he was rebuilding. So
E?
He was in way over his head. Whether it be dealing with the personalities of professional athletes or judging the level of NFL talent or the practice schedule of NFL or dealing with the Philadelphia media or dealing with the Philadelphia fans, he was just in way over his head. I don't know if 10 years from now we could look back and revisit this entire situation and this entire conversation and be like, oh, if only we're a little bit more patient with him because now he's a Super Bowl winning coach. But as of right now, in way over his head.
Yeah, I think it was his. Basically, it comes down to his ego. His ego got in the way. I think he made some changes, adapted, but I think he was so set in his ways that he was totally Frank Sinatra. He's like, I'm gonna do it my way.
sing it.
Nice.
That's a good point. I think this move came down to ego too. It was kind of the battle clashing of the egos, and that's why it was so kind of just quick and shocking. But, I will say I do feel better talking it out.
Oh,
I'm not as, I was like shaky.
Therapy is Eagles therapy.
Like,
Right there.
I seriously was like shaky. I was like, I was still angry this morning.
So how does that make you feel?
But talking it out, hearing everyone's sides, it does help. It does help.
Venting.
I know,
Absolutely.
venting it out. So I think it's almost time for us to start wrapping up. So any other final thoughts, questions,
yeah.
topics you'd like to just put out there for our final podcast of the
Oh.
season? Whoa!
Yeah, I want to leave on this one. I mean, you guys can add some more too, but like, I wanted to ask this question to everybody. So we're gonna have a new GM, right? Well, it's gonna be Howie again, and we're gonna have a new coach, right? And he's gonna have a new scheme, offensively and defensively.
And a new baby.
And we're gonna have a new Eagles fan
Good luck, charm.
coming in June. But like for the players, that are on the field, the players on our roster, which player is on the hot seat for the new regime?
Oh, Coop's gone.
Cooper?
He's gone.
I just been thinking all week. Imagine Riley Cooper showing up to a new locker room with 90% African American that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I'd pay to see that.
You should Periscope that.
There you go.
So Riley Cooper for both you?
No. So many times when you see new head coaches come into an organization, the first thing that gets asked is the quarterback, because if it is not your hand-picked quarterback, whether that's via free agency, trade, or the draft, a lot of times that they butt heads early on, and new head coaches will want to draft themselves a quarterback and handcuff themselves. Not to mention the fact that Bradford isn't under contract after this year. So if anybody's going to go, and through no fault of Bradford, it's just a situational thing. If anybody's going to go, whether it be Bradford's choice or the head coach's choice, it's going to be him.
Wow, yeah. You got to think of the quarterback. You made a lot of good points because he's going to be owed a lot of money, right?
Well, no, we don't have him under contract after this year. That's it.
Yeah. So like we have to pay him basically now.
Yeah.
Or pay him in free agency.
Yeah.
And you have to have a coach that's probably already familiar with them to feel comfortable
Give him that money.
Spending all that money because it's going to be at least 4 years. So it's going to be the coach's stint in Philadelphia, or not. So, yeah, that's a really tough one. And I think I agree with all you guys, but I think I'm going to also have to put out DeMarco Murray. He didn't perform this year. He's owed a lot of money. Maybe that's a trade piece that the new coach uses to get some players that he wants.
Or if they go to a power running game, they could design something around DeMarco.
Yeah,
but
it's true. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we as Eagles fans, we watched DeMarco since he came in the league with the Cowboys, and he's had one really good season. And the Cowboys were waiting forever for him to have that one really good season. Before that, he was injured, I think, almost every year. And he had, light fumble issues, before he broke out. So he had one really good year and then a down year. So, you look at his whole body of work. Do you keep him for that amount of money? Because he's only getting older. How old is DeMarco Murray? Do you guys know?
Like 26, 27?
Yeah, I want to say
some years left. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you got to, if you need new pieces, you might want to trade DeMarco and try to keep Ryan Matthews around.
Well, who's going to eat that contract? He's got a big contract as well, so. I
think there's teams that'd be interested in him.
Yeah. Oh, but the other thing I was thinking about defensively, do we stick with a 3-4 or go to a 4-3? I mean, we have some good players. Vinny. Everybody loves Vinny Curry, an Eagle fan at heart. Grew up as an Eagle fan. Imagine keeping Vinny Curry. He could do his thing opposite Brandon Graham. You could move Connor Barwin back in the middle or something, do something with him. A lot of people are rooting for a 4-3.
As am I.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm biased because I play video games right here, right? So, I like the 3-4. I played in the 4-3 a very long time. Trent Cole, you're my dude. Um, but I think, it's a little bit different. I like that the 3-4 gives you more flexibility, and you can do a lot of disguise blitzes and move people around. And Jim Johnson did a little bit of that. He'd move some people around. Like that year that the Patriots were having their undefeated season, we came out with some funky defense where we had Trent Cole as the Joker behind the nose tackle. That was tight, which is basically a 3-4. Um, yeah, I like to play a 3-4 a little bit, but that's painful. That's so painful because we were just going from a 4-3 to a 3-4, and we still have pieces of a 4-3 like Brandon Graham in there. But to move back, I don't know. I guess we are in the middle, so we could go either way. But
We got players. We do have the players to do that. So
Yeah.
Most of your defensive additions have been, let's say, in the secondary, so that translates. That always translates.
Yeah.
Brandon Graham, we actually drafted when we were running a 4-3, so that was just a mistake. Should have been Earl Thomas, but that's neither here nor there.
hey,
That was a mistake altogether. You really have still a lot of the 4-3 defense, and a 3-4 defense is an outstanding defense, but you have to have every single piece squared away. It is so Pittsburgh Steelers when you have when you have that Casey Hampton in the middle, when you have Harrison on the outside, when you have a Palomalu that can drop into a box, when you have the talent and every single piece is the right thing, it is deadly. But if you do not have the right piece, and if you are trying to convert Trent Cole or Vinny Curry to an outside linebacker, and you've got Mr. Belly Shirt Kiko Alonso, Shakira's older brother in the middle, and an aging D'Amico Ryans, and friggin', it all of a sudden goes from a very effective tool to a very ineffective defense.
you don't got to worry about those guys because we got Hicks coming back.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We have a lot of middle linebackers right now, so
Yeah.
those are also pieces to trade.
It was funny. I was watching D'Amico Ryans. They were getting his take on the whole Chip Kelly thing. It looked like he was like, "I'm gonna get cut anyway." He had that look on his face. I was like, "Mustafa, no."
Yeah. I like
He's like, "I'm probably getting cut anyway." But
Oh man. Well, any other final questions on your end, boys, on the East Coast?
No, but I would just like to take a minute and say thank you, Delia, for having us on your channel. You've been a wonderful host, and I've looked forward to these podcasts every week. This is the first year of my 8 years on YouTube that I'm actually doing anything live and anything with anybody else. And I remember once upon a time, me and Graham had a conversation in Bully's Pub when you guys were here week 2 and shared thoughts and theories about social media and YouTube and conceptual ideas. And he said, you really got to start branching out a little bit more. And I am so happy it was here on PhilaDehlia's channel. I couldn't have found a better home. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys next year for the same exact podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah. Aw,
yeah, mic drop. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys for bringing me into this wonderful nest. Felt like I found a little home. Got my therapy sessions about the Eagles. It's been great, and I look forward to doing more, getting things off my chest.
Cool. I have a feeling we're have to get some things off our chest in this off season. So maybe we'll do an unscheduled impromptu.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Maybe if something big goes down and we're all like, we need to talk about it, maybe. So you know what? That'll be a good reason for those of you that haven't subscribed, whether it's here or on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, anywhere you can subscribe to podcasts. That way you'll get notifications if we have some surprise debuts. But for now, I think the plan is, until next season. What do we say? Preseason? About that time?
About that time.
And yeah, this has been fun. And thank you guys. It's been a very fun, kind of experiment, I guess, you know. And I'm glad we put together the perfect team, you know. And like Erock was saying, we had barely met in person for the first time this season, and we started doing just collaborating on different things, and then we're doing Eagles Awards with guest presenters. So it just kind of snowballed into this really awesome thing. And that's what I love about YouTube, you know? It's like it brings everybody together, and that's why we keep doing it. So
Well, let's make sure everyone knows where to find all of the hosts on this podcast. You guys want to sound off where they can find you on Twitter and all that stuff. So, because the off season, we're going to disband a little bit, but we want to stay in touch.
all right, Erock, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter, and Twitter's the big one, at the Mighty Erock, Instagram at the Mighty Erock, here on YouTube, youtube.com/the Mighty Erock, Facebook, Facebook.com/Eagles Tailgate Team, and yeah, I think that's it. Gayle, where can they find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Eagle Sessions. That's EAGLE Sessions, and then I have another channel, another handle. That's Gayle E. Saunders. If you guys want to talk NFL draft and nerdy NFL stuff, and you can find me on YouTube. Just search for Gayle Saunders. I will pop up. I will be doing more videos this season. So that is it.
And I have both their YouTube channels in the description. So since you're on YouTube, just click on that, click subscribe. And we also have.
I'm going by Madden G4D on YouTube, Twitter, basically those places. So you can hit me up there. And of course, you know how to find PhilaDehlia.
PhilaDehlia everywhere. So I put all our channels. So G4D is at the top actually because he has, I think, the least amount of subscribers out of everyone. So
I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
let's get Gayle and G4D. Let's give him a little bump, y'all. Give him some love. And then yeah, I mean, you know me. I'm not really going anywhere. I'm still gonna make videos during the off season. I get a little experimental with my videos, so I'm warning you now. It's gonna get weird, but but that's it. So again, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to our channels, hit us up on Twitter or wherever you like to, and that's it. Feeling a lot better, and it's your girl signing off with the homies.
You guys ready?
Final podcast episodes.
E-A-G-L-E-S-Go!